Hello and welcome to another Red Shirt podcast with Vernon and Nigel. Nigel, it's bright, it's cold, it's sunny, it's in Old Trafford. Where else would you want to be on a Thursday morning? And it's a special one. You can feel it in the air. It's the derby coming up, Nigel. And you can feel the excitement, the buzz, and the anticipation. And Nigel,
I tell you what, I can feel a right chill in here, mate.
I can feel a chill. I can feel a blue chill, Nigel. Do you know what I mean? we're gonna introduce you because obviously with it being Derby week this week, we've decided to do something a bit different, haven't we, Nigel? And we've decided to, introduce a guest from the blue half of the city to give us his perspective of the game.
Well, we always talk about this being, a fan channel site for the folks of Old Trafford, and so I guess that has to include some delusional folks from Old Trafford and Stretford as well. So, in the spirit of unity, we thought we'd get one of the noisy neighbours in, eh? And who better, who more noisier than this one here, Granville Campbell. We all know him, we all love him. Oh, it's going to be a nightmare.
welcome, Granville. Well, welcome to the show. Please don't adjust your TV sets, guys. That's just a terrible shirt he's wearing.
Yeah.
So, Granville, you recently did a charity run. If you just want to, let obviously the listeners, talk about it and where they can donate and, pass on some, some nice, juicy little bit of a contribution to the great run that you did.
Well, it's something I'm very passionate about. I started doing it about 13 years ago, and it's just great to participate and give something back in the community. I don't like running, to be honest, but it has helped me specifically in the last 18 months. Obviously, during lockdown, it's made me watch what I eat, and it's got me outside to do a bit of exercising when we're only allowed to do a bit of exercising outside. So it's I do it on my own, which is fine. I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed the day, see so many different charities being supported by different people of all ages, nationalities, and it's just great to see the crowd participation, actually shouting your name out while you're running because they can actually see your name on your vest. So from that point of view, it's just a warm welcome day to participate in something like that. And I'm very proud to be able to do that. And to be honest, over the past few years, I've been having some great support. Every year my target increases. It's gone from £1,500, which it was 18 months ago. Obviously last year got cancelled. And I set the target for £2,000 this year, which I'm 75% there. So it's been incredible. It's for a good cause. Charity Christie means quite a lot to me in regards to supporting them and what they actually do for loved ones in the family and friends that have actually utilised their facilities for one reason or the other, and unfortunately the ones who have passed away.
Mate, that's incredible. And can I just say, for someone who's lost a brother, I can wholeheartedly say, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And obviously, Chris's are amazing. They looked after my brother amazingly, and we've got nothing but praise for the NHS and for Chris's in particular. They do take a bashing, but mate, they're amazing people, and they did us proud, and we were so grateful for what they did, and we're so grateful for what you do, mate. So, joking aside and banter aside, you're one of the good ones, and we salute you, mate.
Yeah, well done. And I must say that I did enjoy seeing you out and about doing your running in Chorlton, in Stretford, and places like that. It was good to see you, Granville, during those times. In a time where we were kind of like, all of us. It was hard to see each other. It was nice to see that friendly face, pounding the streets of, our local area. So well done.
Just one thing though, you say you run by yourself. Well, I mean, are you up for like getting some people running with you? Would you be up for kind of starting like a men's running group or something?
It's something that's always in my mind. Whether or not I could commit to something like that is difficult, because for me, training for this 10K was just basically by the heart. It was more of the heart more than anything else, just to get myself in some shape for the run on the day. And then, to be honest, I've done it now, and it's been 6 weeks, and I think I've only done one more run since then. I always have a bit of a break and enjoy the euphoria of doing it, and obviously seeing the donations build up. My next highlight will be when I get called into Christie's and to pick up my certificate for the final donation that they take from the Just Giving page. So it's, to answer your question, it's not for me, to be honest, but because I don't like running, but I enjoy participating in the event. That's what keeps me going. I just haven't got the mindset to run on a regular basis, to be honest. But yeah, that could change. I think if you're running with the right people who's at the same stage that you are. I don't want to compete. I just run to, one, raise the money for charity, and two, it helps me stay fit anyway.
Right.
Do you want to give us, before we go on, Granville, do you just want to give your, obviously, your Just Giving page number so everybody can, donate and obviously, participate and contribute to the great, the great achievement you've done?
Yes, it's www.justgiving/champions, but champions is spelled slightly different. It's CHAM for Mike, PEP, that's for pet, that's short for pet, and IONS. And it's 21, obviously, because that's the year where we're still the current champions. So it all links in together with my activities, obviously the colour of choice, and more importantly, supporting the community club, which is known as Manchester City Football Club.
Okay, thanks very much and well done. Anyway, guys, well done at Granville. So we're going to focus now on Saturday's game coming up. It's a 12:30 kickoff. It's Saturday, November the 6th. And you can feel the buzz. Everybody's talking about it, aren't they, Nigel? And, as I always say, two tribes go to war. That's the best way of putting it.
Indeed, but obviously they're talking about it for different reasons. I mean, obviously our last game, we scraped by with a 2-2 draw. And, it's really just lipstick on a pig, isn't it? We keep, we know this is typical of Ollie. We know obviously from the humiliating defeat to Liverpool, any legend would use the opportunity to say, look, this is unacceptable, and maybe offer to resign. I don't know if he did or didn't, but he's still in the job. And since then, the team have galvanized a little bit about him. But obviously the last game we saw, again, another disaster show from the Reds. So it's like we're not learning a single thing. So in coming into this game, we know with Derby, all the rules go out the window. But it's, as Paul Scholes chillingly said again, we play like that again against City, and we could be in trouble.
It's funny, Granville, because City go into this game, obviously, losing 1-0 last Saturday, 2-0 last Saturday against Crystal Palace at home. I don't think anybody, had predicted that result. And then obviously you beat Brugge last night, 4-1, quite convincingly, really. But I want to ask you, going into this game, Granville, there's a lot of talk about De Bruyne and his lack of form. Has that been quite frightening from you? And, what's City's perspective on that?
I can see why people are actually looking at KDB's form. And to be honest, since the start of the season, his rhythm's not been there. And I think it's made a lot of City fans realise that the reason why he plays every game when he is fit, because he's one of those players. I would say he's in between a Bentley and a Ferrari. You've got to use him while you've got him. There's no point parking him up and picking and choosing the games that he plays. He's got to play every game for his rhythm. And once he's in rhythm, he's exceptional. And I just feel during the Euros, and he obviously had that bad injury towards the end of the Euros as well, I think it's just knocked him a little bit. And possibly again having a focal point up top for him to paint a picture like he does before he makes his sky blue passes. that could be affecting his game. Maybe is trying too hard to bring in Grealish into the game, and obviously Jesus is out on the right hand side. So there's quite a lot of things going on, but I personally am not worried. I know KDB is still the best of what he does in the world, and one game he'll turn up and everything will click, and I'm just feel sorry for who's on the other side of it.
You make a good, sorry, Vernon, let me jump in there. You make a good point about the false nine. Now, we all who kind of have watched City from afar, we all kind of laud the fact that Pep's philosophy is such that you can play without that number 9 and still win the majority of your games. But here, obviously, it's interesting hearing you mention that obviously that might be a problem for people like De Bruyne. So, I mean, from an outside perspective, we kind of like it, but obviously, are you guys not happy with the fact that you still don't have a number 9? Is it frustrating for you guys?
It's not frustrating for me because obviously we've got Torres and Jesus was bought at the club to play the number 9 role anyway. Me personally, no. I was happy with the Kane deal not going ahead.
Was you happy with that? Was you happy with that deal not going ahead?
Yes, and the main reason was the fact that despite City spent a lot of money, they brought young players that they could mould, that Pep could mould into his way of footballing, and there's always that possibility of a sell-on. So to buy Kane at 28 for that much money, he would have got at least a 4-year contract, which has taken him to 32 and a half. So we would have paid for a player that would have left the club free in 4 years' time. So from that point of view, it's something that Pep's never done, and I was quite happy from that point of view. But if I was to answer the question with my heart, if he came and he brought us the Champions League this season, then it would have been money well spent, because as you well know, that particular competition is so difficult to win. But there's no guarantee. So I'm 95% quite happy that the deal didn't happen.
I mean, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because I think my perspective, especially with Kevin De Bruyne, is that he's a much better player with Fernandinho in the team. Because, you know, if you watch very, very carefully, Fernandinho will pick the ball up and then he'll feed it into Kevin De Bruyne. And I know in the past, that's something that Klopp's been very, very, you know, smart on, of like ensuring that the ball doesn't start, you know, with Fernandinho, because I always think that Fernandinho gives you the rhythm, especially from picking the ball up, you know, from the back 4, and the way that he can just distribute it, and you can go from, you know, back to front quite seamlessly, you know, so quickly. And I think it is influenced because, as well, we all know Fernandinho knows the dark arts, doesn't he, Granville? He knows how to play on the edge without getting sent off, doesn't he? I mean, you see the challenges. He's not, you know, he's not frightened of leaving a foot or his head in. You know what I mean?
I tell you what, though, just on what you said, though, Granville, obviously you say you're happy, and I think I agree with what you said with regards to Harry Kane. But how did you feel about not signing Cristiano Ronaldo? How do you feel about the fact that he snubbed you boys to come home to the Theatre of Dreams, where he belongs?
He's only home.
To be honest, I think the red half of the Manchester got mugged. To be honest, I think it was just a publicity thing. I just couldn't imagine Ronaldo playing for City. I just couldn't. I can't see it. Still can't now. Just can't imagine him in blue. It wouldn't look right. And personally, I don't think he would have wanted to do it as well, despite what's been said in the press. I just couldn't see him wanting to come to City. I just couldn't see it.
Was you excited when you heard he was coming?
Not at all. Not at all. Just didn't want it to happen.
Get out of
We've had ex-United players before, and the most successful one for me is Tevez. If I could have Tevez back in our squad tomorrow, I would do.
Great player, Tevez. Yeah. Great player.
But Ronaldo's not going to come with that mindset to say, well, I don't care about United anymore. I'm now at City, where Tevez did. And that's why so many of the City fans took to him straight away. As soon as he put that blue shirt on, people genuinely believed he's played for City all his life. he forgot about the red eye for Manchester just like that. Personal reasons, business reasons, commercial reasons, whatever the reason was, he played 110% every time he put that shit on for City.
Apart from when he went on strike for about 3 months and went and played golf.
Well, I think that was a misunderstanding by the press once again, making things out of something. I think he wanted a break. I think he asked the management, could he go away with his family for a few weeks? And it was granted, but the press took it the wrong way and sort of said he went off golfing.
A quick question for you, Granville, because I love you to bits. If you'd have signed Ronnie, if you'd have signed him, would you have come on the podcast with your City shirt with Ronaldo across the front of it?
Not at
like
all.
you've done today with Champions?
Not at all. Not at all. And I think, if I was to be honest, if he brought the Champions League to us, because obviously it's something that we've never won, and we're striving to do that, it would still tarnish the fact that he played a part of it. But I don't want to say too much about my Ronnie, because obviously he's going to be lining up against us in a couple of days' time, and you know what he's like. I still not got over Michael Owen's last gaff winner at Old Trafford. That still haunts me to this very day. So I don't want to say anything more about Ronnie.
One of the best derbies I've actually been to that day.
Beautiful moment.
Well, not just for Michael Owen's goal.
Yeah.
There was some really good goals. I mean, Bellamy got a good goal that day as well, didn't he, Granville? I mean, it was, to me, that derby kind of like emphasized what a real Manchester derby was about.
Yeah.
It was a ding-dong affair. It had everything, it had spice, it had aggression, and it was just a really, really good game, and it's one of those that has been left, in folklore for just being a really great game. Nigel, quickly, how do you see it? I mean, obviously the pressure's slightly lifted off Solskjaer. They got the 2-2 draw because, let's be honest, if we'd have lost at Atlanta, the press barometer and the pressure barometer would have gone up going into obviously Saturday's game. From your point of view, Nigel, are you nervous, excited? How do you see it?
So I guess in normal times, in any normal year, with a derby, it doesn't matter about form, does it? It's a derby. City come out to play football. We're playing football, so you don't have to worry about the low, the low press. I'm sorry, the low block, because everyone's there to play football, and it's stressful, but you can enjoy the fact that two teams are there to try and win this game, obviously for bragging rights. There is a lot of problems at Old Trafford. I think the biggest problem though with us is probably mentality and confidence. Ronaldo has it in bucket loads, but transmitting that to the rest of the players is clearly a problem. We heard recently that, at halftime against Liverpool, he actually said to the players, "Are you not embarrassed by what's going on?" And so it's like his mentality is absolutely right. Is derby ready? But I don't know about any of the other players. I don't know if some of them really want to go missing, would rather not get picked for the game. So we've got problems, but it's obviously one of those games where all his back's against the wall, and we normally know what happens when his back's against the wall. So
it's called rabbits and hats, Nigel. That's what it's called.
Yeah, exactly.
Rabbits and hats. It becomes an addiction, doesn't it, for these games? I mean, it's funny going into the game, Granville, from your perspective, and a City perspective, because I mean, like City, how you're going to play, don't you? It's you're going to play the way you press, high press, go through the midfield, defensively, you look a bit, you look tight. Obviously, there was the Keystone Cop goal that, last night with Stones, which is nobody's fault. I mean, that just happens in football sometimes, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. I think from my perspective, I've always looked at the derby, and I don't tend to pay much attention to the form going into the derby, because I remember back in the Fergie days, if we got something from Old Trafford, that was our season. So United would have been winning their game up until the derby game anyway, and City used to go in there thinking, well, let's not get beat and just get something from the game, and that was our season. So form goes out the window for me, and I've always thought that. And whatever happened to United against Liverpool or on Tuesday night is irrelevant to me. And just the same way with our result against Crystal Palace last Saturday and the game last night. I don't look at those games in the build-up to a derby. I just look at how we perform for the derby on the day.
It's funny because I always look, you know, like before we play Liverpool and before we play City, I always look at the game before, and you know, if for instance City get beat or Liverpool get beat, I kind of think it's the worst thing that could have kind of happened, because you know that, you know, going into the derby, but the supporters, you know, the manager's going to demand a performance, and you see a totally different performance, you know, the day of the actual game. I mean, it's quite interesting, really, because, like, you know, do you think that City will play with a false nine? Do you think they'll play with Grealish, or do you see like Jesus playing there? Do you think he'll pack his midfield?
I think I was only thinking about this last night coming home from the game at for Etihad. I really genuinely believe there's going to be some big calls made on Saturday morning. There's a possibility you could find both Grealish and KDB on the bench on Saturday morning. If I was to choose, I'd always play KDB because, like I said, he's world class and he's got the ability just to pull something out of the bag anytime during that game. It could be the first minute or the last minute. But you could quite easily look at the team sheet on Saturday morning and find out they both start on the bench.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I think the Grealish is an interesting shout. I mean, do you guys think it's working out for him? I mean, I know that in the past when he's played against United, he's had some joy, but, you know, Wan-Bissaka's in a good run of form at the moment, so I don't expect him to get much joy down the left side. What do you think of him?
I think if we take the out of the occasion what he cost, because that was the buyout clause, and you know it was put in there by the Villa chairman, thinking that no one's going to meet it, and City met it. So take away the price tag, because that's what everybody's going to judge him on. We've seen a different Grealish because he is being coached. I genuinely believe Pep doesn't want him to be taking teams on by himself like he used to at Villa, and then falling to the ground and winning free kicks. That's not Pep's way. We haven't got 6'6" players anyway, so there's no point us winning free kicks thinking that we're going to have a better chance to score, because we don't have those type of players. So I think he's been specifically told to stay on his feet, and he doesn't take as many players on as he used to at Villa, because he's got another half a dozen world-class players around him where we don't have to take players on. We pass on players. We pass on our opponents. So his mindset and game has changed, and people keep judging him on what they saw when he was at Villa. It was a talisman there. He had a free role. He could do what he wanted, and he stood out because 90% of the players around him weren't up to his standard anyway. He's joined an outfit where he's going to have to work to justify he is the great Jack Grealish, because to us and to most of the fans, he's just another player coming that's got to find his way. And the quicker and the sooner he gets that into his head, and Pep will do it, it'll take a bit of time. He'll be 10 times a player than he was when he came.
I mean, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because, like, obviously, especially with English players, you're always going to pay or have to pay what I call the Premier League tax. You know, you could probably go into Europe and get a player of, say, you know, Grealish's ability for 60 million. Do you know what I mean? I think the thing that strikes me with City, to be honest with you, especially in the last 10 years, is I think they've bought well. They've bought well to a structure, and what they have put in place is the type of player that they want to sign. They know will fit in with the club. Very sort of like, you know, Fergie did, didn't he, Nigel? You know, he would identify players that would fit into, you know, the culture of the way that we play at the club, but also there was this feeling that the character would fit in the dressing room, wouldn't they, Nigel?
Yeah, well, I mean, I might have to disagree with you there about them buying well. I think they buy a player, they don't like him, they get rid of him to buy another. They don't like him, to get rid of him to buy another. That's why they're in financial fair play trouble. So, you know, let's have it right. Yeah, they've just got the money and the clout to buy whatever they want and experiment. So, you know, you do that over a sustained period, you've got to get, a broken clock's right twice a day, isn't it? And I guess that's the story of City. A broken clock that happened to get it right a couple of times. And so,
Is that clock or clock, Nigel?
Yeah, clock or clock? Both.
so Nigel, so when are you going to fix your clock then?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. And it wouldn't take long.
Hey.
Don't you worry about our clock, mate. It just needs a battery. That's all it needs.
Hey, Nigel, probably Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah, thanks to you boys.
But anyway, I mean, it'd be interesting because, it's good to get Granville on, because the great big thing about Granville, Nigel, is that he gets rid of that old fallacy, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because we know that most City fans come from Stockport, but, he's actually, brought up and bred in Old Trafford. But I mean, it's funny, isn't it, Granville? Because, going into the game, and obviously the way that, from a tactical point of view, will it be Diaz? Diaz will have to play because Laporte's been sent off, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And, I'm just, from your point of view, if you can just give us, a quick breakdown of, we think our defense with Maguire is absolutely terrible at this moment in time. I mean, it was good to see that Bailey came back, wasn't it, Nigel, on Tuesday night, and had an absolutely stellar performance.
Well, to be honest, but I've always liked him. I think he's been unjustly judged regarding his performances since he's been at United. He can't stay fit, and that's probably been his biggest downfall. And it's unfortunate for him because he's not a big lad, but he does know the game, and he does get around, and he does recover to get himself out of tricky situations. I think he's been harshly tarnished, but I do like watching him play. Unfortunately, like you said, you can't keep him fit to get him on the pitch, but yes, there's a mistake in him, and you can say that to about any player. But our defence, I thought last night we allowed Club Brugge to get through too easily at times. It was like a ping pong game at times throughout that match yesterday, and that worried me a little bit. And I know Stones came in, which is fine, and he's probably never played with Laporte for a long while now. But I'm not having that as an excuse. And I know Club Brugge got their own goal, so technically, they didn't score yesterday. But I just found the game was a bit like ping pong, and you can't afford to do that in a derby game because, as you saw with Liverpool last week, you take your chances and you're clinical, then it's over. And then you've got your teammates on your back, you've got the crowd on your back. There's no recovery from that. It doesn't matter how strong a player you are. You get to that stage where they've turned on you, then the game's over. And that's what happened with United versus Liverpool. The game passed them by. Liverpool really spanked you in that first 35 minutes, and there was no recovery. And that's what you've got to be fearful of in a derby, because there's times you feel the crowd's going to get you back into the game in the second half. But if you've lost, if you're that far behind, then the crowd can't help you.
I think it's all about what you're saying there is correct, Granville. It's all about mentality, isn't it? You got to go in with keep it tight. Like in the Liverpool game, it was obvious in the first 10 minutes, we were 2-0 down. We hadn't kept it tight. It was kind of like, feeling of not pressing, half pressing, and the lines were just too big. You know what I mean? The distances between players. And that's my fear. My fear is that sometimes is that Ollie doesn't learn, from his mistakes. Got to say, though, he has got a good record against City, hasn't he? He has got a good, when you look at it, he's got a good record.
I mean, at the Fort Etihad, yes, the last 3 games there, you've won.
Just hold on a second, Granville. I just need to correct you on that. The Fort Etihad, yeah?
Again, slander. Lads, I'm glad this is being recorded because I'll be taking that to my legal advisor straight after we finish, mate. You can't be saying things like that. Hey, we had 52,000 there last night.
Okay.
52,000?
That's what I get out in there.
Is that a club record, is it?
There was a lot of traffic outside after the game anyway. It took me an hour to get home.
What if to tell you, Nigel, was 51,000 were comps. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like I said,
All the Pep's mates flown in from Spain.
We're a community club. Remember that,
but-
lads? Community.
Yeah. Quite quick there, Granville. Quite quick. But you know, anyway, guys, let's get a prediction out of you both for Saturday's game. So I'll start with you, Granville, as you are our guest, and you've been a fantastic guest.
I will take any win, any win. I don't think it'll be a Liverpool scoreline. I generally don't believe it'll be that, but it could happen. And I think if it did, 50% of the fans wouldn't be surprised. But I'll take any win. And with it being a derby, I hate predicting derby scorelines, but I'll take any win.
Okay. If you don't win and United win, will you come on and review the show with us with a United shirt on, Granville?
I'll come and review the show, but I don't have anything ready, I'm afraid. Sorry, I can't help you out there, lads. On Valentine's Day, I stay in the house on Valentine's Day because I don't want to see anything red. So I've got nothing red at all, mate. Nothing at all.
Do you have a quick one, Granville? Do you have a blue Christmas tree up in your house?
Yes, blue baubles, blue everything, mate. Everything's blue. The lights are blue. Dresswear is blue. Nothing red at all.
Tomato sauce blue?
Tomato sauce blue.
We have been known to bring blue tomato sauce out, mate. We've since been known to do that. Again, another first.
Yeah, I don't think I would quite. I mean, I don't like tomato sauce anyway. Definitely not blue tomato sauce. Nigel, prediction from you.
Wow, yeah. So I am. I think, bear in mind the league form was it great. The fact that I got knocked out of the Carabao Cup, howbeit on penalties. You know, it's probably the best time to play City. I don't know what that means in terms of what United team turns up, but you know they're not in top gear yet. I think it's fair to say they've got one or two issues themselves, and so you know what we're like. We can turn up and be brilliant, or turn up and be a disaster. So assuming, you know, if we turn up and play like we know we can, if Ronaldo turns up and does it again, and you know City are at the races, which like I said, it's a good time to play them. I don't think it's probably a draw. I think at best I'm looking at a draw, and I think we'd take a draw now, wouldn't we? Or I would anyway.
Okay. So you're gonna any score draw or just a draw? 0-0.
I'd say a score draw. I'd say. I mean, it could be a boring 0-0 after all this, but I can't see us not keeping a clean sheet. So I reckon City will definitely score. And I think Ronnie will dig us out again, or bail us out again. So.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go for a 1-0 win, a hard-fought 1-0 win. I can see Ole pulling a rabbit out of a hat. You know, I can see him there, you know, with his top hat on and his little stick, you know, at the end of the game, you know. But that's what I say. And I'll tell you what I do see, and I think both of you will agree on this, an unbelievable atmosphere. This is the first time, you know, a crowd will be back to see a derby game. And I can just imagine it be, you know, both sides of the ground, you know, the away end and the actual home end being really vociferous, and the noise value, you know, it's going to be a show, innit? You know, so I'll go for that. So Granville, it's been a pleasure having you on. It's the actual first for the Red Shirt podcast, isn't it, Nigel?
It is. Just before we let him go, I know we're in November now, but we've just had Black History Month, and for Black History Month, we've been asking our guests to give us their favourite Black Man United footballer. So whilst you're here, why don't you give us your favourite Black Man United footballer, and of course, you can give us your favourite Black Man City footballer as well.
Ooh, that's an hard one. Nothing to do with it being with United or the colour red. It's a very good question. Very, very good question. I enjoyed the Andy Cole partnership at its peak, because I remember seeing a United programme and I had both Andy Cole and Dwight York on the front, and it had the headline as the Untouchables. I actually will hold my hands up and I bought one. I still got it. I actually bought the program just because those two were on the front and they were at the peak of the powers at that particular time. And for a City fan to go out and buy a Man United program, that's saying something. So I'm going to be cheeky and go for those two.
Great answer.
I'll tell you what, that's a good answer. Do you know for City, Granville, and I always liked him as a player, as a player, but he was just an absolute professional wherever he played. For me, it was Clive Wilson.
Yes, yeah, very
shout.
true.
Good shout.
I think, if you're going back to those times, yes, he was the model black footballer. Probably should have got more exposure than they did do. Probably wasn't used to it, and he was just quite happy to play for his hometown club and got what he could from the game. I think if he was around now, then that would have been accelerated a lot more. A bit like what Sean Goldter is to City at the moment. So he's definitely, he probably didn't get all the accolades that he should have got for what he did on and off the field, being a local lad, playing for City, main road, right in the heart of the ghetto. So you're probably right there. But if I was to choose a City player now, I would go for Yaya Toure, and only because he was the best in the world at what he does. For somebody such a big man, 6'3", 6'4", and that's where I got the power phrase juggernaut. As you guys probably realize when I get my cryptic notes out and get my WhatsApp messages out, it's a juggernaut, and I got that from him because he was a human juggernaut when he was on that pitch. He was unstoppable.
Yeah, good play. It's one of the few that I definitely would have loved to have seen at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
My favourite City players, you've named one, and the other one is Vincent Kompany. I think he was just phenomenal. Yeah. It hurts me to say it, but if we had Vincent Kompany, the United story wouldn't have ended. The United glory days was just not have ended. He's everything that you want in a footballer. He's got that leadership. He's got that command. He's just such brilliant defender. He's managing that changing room. He's just the captain's captain, isn't he? He's a great player.
You know exactly what you're gonna have to, what you get from him. You know what you have to do. He was one of the only ones who I saw really pull Balotelli up on the pitch when he used to do some of his silly antics and Kompany.
Balotelli, I forgot about him. He's my favourite.
I think as well with Clive Wilson, I give out a shout out to his brother Gus Wilson, who played for Crewe, was also a really good, football coach as well. I mean, remember those guys as we were growing up, and they were. And I think with Clive Wilson, I mean, you got to remember he played until he was about 37. He was at Chelsea and QPR, so he had a really, really stellar career, didn't he?
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. It's a shame that players like that, they should have been more prominent than they were. And even now, it shouldn't take this podcast to bring those names up front again, because we grew up with those guys.
We did indeed, and I think that's what makes our community so special, doesn't it? The very fact that these guys that we grew up with, a lot of the time when you see them, they haven't changed, have they?
Yeah, just exactly the same. And the razzmatazz of football wasn't around when they were, but I think if it was, I don't think you would have saw any change from them. You would have probably seen them down at the West Indian Centre on a night out, and they would have let on to you and see if you wanted a drink, and they would have just carried on as normal.
Exactly. Well, that wraps up another Red Shirt podcast with Vernon and Nigel. Thank you very much, Granville. It's actually been a pleasure having you on, and you are free to come on here again, especially if you lose. We're more than happy to have you on if you lose.
well, I'm having a word with my tail at the moment because I fancy a new shirt this season. Something with 22 on the back. So, I don't have a problem coming back to show you that maybe later on in the season.
No wonder Fergie called them the noisy neighbours. Oh my days.
I think we just got to turn the TV up.
Can't take the noise.
Yeah, that's what you're doing it with noisy neighbour, Nigel. Just turn the TV up. But anyway, Nigel, it's time to wrap it up. So again, we say love football, keep safe, and
keep that red flag flying.
See you later, guys. Thank you very much.
Come on the blue. In Pep we trust.
We can edit that.
Yeah, we'll definitely edit that.